What happened to DCTs? Is the 3-2-2 strategy still working? And what in the world are flexible Facebook ads? Well, if you're anything like me and you've been asking yourself some of those questions over the last few weeks, I want to assure you that today I'm going to be jumping into everything around Facebook's newest update with flexible ads. And for those of you that are like, I've never even heard of flexible ads, what is this? This video will also apply to you because I'm going to be showcasing ad accounts that do have the most recent updates, as well as ad accounts that don't. And I'm actually going to be showing you some data on the tests that we have been running for a few of our clients to help you figure out what is going to be best for you and your business, and ultimately help you have more success with your Facebook ads and scale a lot further. What's going on, everyone? It's Spencer here. If you're new to the channel, I run a growth focused agency by the name of EZA Media, and we help accelerate the growth of brands with purpose. A huge part of us doing that is by running Facebook ads. At the time of this recording, we manage over $1 million a month in ad spend, and so when any kind of new update comes in from Facebook, it's definitely a top priority for us to figure out. So when it comes to flexible ads, which is the entire topic of today's video, I'm going to be diving into the screen to show you what Meta is actually telling us about this new format, show you a live example of what it looks like in the ad account, and then ultimately at the end tell you what we're doing to optimize our clients for the best results. So that way you should have a better idea of what flexible ads are, what you need to do for your specific business, and how you can actually get better results on Facebook ads if you're not even using flexible ads or dynamic creatives. So let's go ahead and actually jump into the screen share to show you exactly what is going on. All right, as you can see, we're now on the screen, and the first thing I want to do is just pull up the Business Help Center just so you can actually see what Facebook is saying about flexible ad formats. Now, for those of you that don't really understand what dynamic creative testing is inside of Meta, flexible ads is essentially another way to dynamically test creatives in your Facebook ad account. If you're brand new to dynamic creative testing and have not been running DCTs in the past, I'm going to leave a link to a video down below that explains a little bit more about our dynamic creative testing strategy. But for the sake of this video, since I'm assuming a lot of you are already running dynamic creative tests, I'm going to keep this a little bit more high level. So with that said, if you were just to take a few minutes to read this, it honestly isn't that different to dynamic creative testing. If anything, it actually might be a little bit better because what Meta is actually allowing you to do is mix and match images and videos and actually give you more variations inside of your ad account. Now, depending on who you ask, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. For us, we typically never would test images and videos together, but having that option now is pretty cool and something that we might actually play around with. And on top of that, one of the new combinations that you'll see very shortly that they've added with flexible ads is the idea of taking all your creatives and putting them in a carousel, which for us is honestly not really ideal because the way that we run our dynamic creative test is very strategic, where we typically only test one variable in the ad. So if we have carousels running that all look the same, it's not really good for our client's brand and obviously can cause some issues. But all in all, just know that flexible ad format is basically the exact same thing as dynamic creative testing format. They've literally just taken it from the ad set level and they've now basically just put this down at the ad level instead. So to jump into some ad accounts to show you what's going on, this is a client of ours that is actually got some new UI and has the flexible ad option inside of their ad account. And when you're setting up ads in Facebook's new interface, essentially what you're going to see is a format here that says flexible ads. Now, again, if you are on Facebook's old interface, this is what you will actually see on the ad set level where it says dynamic creative. If I am to go down into the ad level here, you can see, shout out to JJ here, that there is no option for this flexible ad. It's still single image and video, and unless we have the dynamic creative test option selected, we are not able to upload more than one visual into the ad level. But this is the old interface, and again, this is what the new interface looks like. And if we actually jump up to the ad set level on the new interface, you'll notice that it says dynamic creative is no longer available. Instead, you can use flexible ad formats during ad creation, and basically it does the exact same thing. Now, if you're wondering, Spencer, what the heck, I thought we were supposed to be running 3-2-2. Why do you have 9 images inside of here? The 9-2-2 strategy is actually a new strategy that we're also testing for some clients. So once we have more data on this, we're actually going to make another video on why we're testing 9 variations rather than 3. With that said, for the time being, we're still just recommending that you do a 3-2-2. If you want to mess around with some 9x1s, you can. But as I'm about to show you, there is a few issues with the actual flexible ad strategy itself. So issue number 1 is the fact that it does put your ads in a carousel. As you can see here for one of our our clients, there is basically 9 ads that all look the exact same. And in this process, we're actually doing a messaging test. So that's the reason why all of the images look the same. We're just testing different headlines to see what is resonating most with customers. And by having it in a carousel, it's obviously not that ideal. Now, the second issue that we found with flexible ad format is that if we actually go into the breakdown and we try to see the image or the video that we are testing, it actually doesn't show you the breakdown. Now, for some people that I've chatted with, this actually isn't that big of a deal, because if you just go and click the ad, you go to preview and you pull up the Facebook post with comments, which is what I've already done here, you're just going to be able to see the top performing creative anyways. And you can just go up here, grab the post ID, and you can put that into your champions ad set or whatever it may be. But for us as an agency, we really value being able to see which creatives are getting spend or which creatives are getting purchases, because it helps us and our creative team learn what to do more of or what not to do. In this instance, one of the learnings that we could take is that this headline is obviously the top performing headline. But what was really interesting is that we then ran another test on this specific creative where instead of using flexible ad format, we actually just set 9 individual ads up, which is something that I'm gonna get to in a second. And funny enough, our top spending and basically top performing creative was actually a different creative. Now, if I actually go back to the flexible ad format, you can see the breakdown is still not showing. I'm gonna showcase that we did spend roughly around the same amount on this flexible ad format as we did on the actual manual place format here. So you can see it's about $350 odd each. And what was interesting is the fact that the top spending ad from this manual place campaign, which again, all we did is we set up an ad set and then manually set up 9 individual ads with 1 piece of copy and 1 piece of headline. And this ad was actually different with the top overall spend compared to this ad here using the flexible ad format. So one of the learnings that we took from this is maybe flexible ad format has a different kind of run with the algorithm where maybe it's a little bit smarter and like knows what to do. Another learning that we had is maybe we just didn't spend enough. And if we continue to let those ads run, maybe the ad that the flexible ad format pulled was the one that would have ended up winning in the end. But long story short, this What If a Pillow Was Made with Pure Joy ad was actually our 4th highest spending creative. It actually only got $10 out of the total budget. Now, because we cannot see the breakdown inside of here, this does not mean that this post here was the top performing ad or the top spending ad, but typically the ad that is getting the most engagement and is showing up first whenever we preview a dynamic creative test or a flexible ad typically means it's the ad that's getting the majority of the spend. So all in all, that was one thing that we found a little bit odd with flexible ads, and is something that we're actually still actively testing. Now, obviously the final question is, Spencer, what the heck do I do? Do I set up, all of my ads individually? Do I trust this new flexible ad format? Or should I just go and continue to use dynamic creative while I can? My honest answer would be just to continue to run dynamic creative tests until Meta really figures out and refines their flexible ad format. Again, this is not something that has been published fully across all ad accounts, so I'm assuming that Meta is still working on a few things and kind of ironing out some kinks with it. What I would recommend doing is, if you have previous DCTs active or you have them set up in your ad account, just simply duplicate it. And when you duplicate it, you're still going to be able to run dynamic creative tests even if you have the new UI. With that said, for some of our brands like this where they actually weren't running dynamic creative tests and we've recently just now implemented the 3-2-2 method, we are actually deciding to go in and just manually set up all of our ads following a 3-1-1 method, or in this instance a 9-1-1 method, which basically just means we're not testing multiple headlines and multiple copies, we're only testing one. And by doing that, we're still actually seeing really great results. This is actually a new winning ad that is starting to take off for this client in particular. And so with all of that said, we would probably push you, if you have not been running dynamic creative tests, to just go and try both. As I showed you in the beginning, we ran the flexible ad, we then ran the manual placed ad, and at the end of the day, this ad didn't actually end up becoming a true winner for us, so we ended up turning everything off. But you can do either or. What I would say is, if you're just wanting something that's super low maintenance, just throw everything in a flexible Facebook ad, and then over a week or two, just go ahead, look at the best performing variant by previewing the post, grab the post ID and throw it in your winner's ad set. Or if you want more data and you want to be a little bit more strategic, then I would probably recommend just manually setting everything up inside of an ad set, just like we used to in the olden days. And that way it'll give you a little bit more clear data on what it is actually happening from all of your creative tests. Again, if you ask me, the idea that my ads are going to be put into a carousel when I really don't want them to is something that I'm not okay with. And again, I would really prefer to see where my spend is going in order for me be able to make proper decisions in the ad account. So all in all, you have 3 options. Option number 1, which I think is the best option, is to just continue running DCTs. Option number 2 is just manually set up everything inside of your Facebook ad account following a 3-1-1 strategy. So rather than using dynamic, creative, or flexible to test multiple copies and multiple headlines, just set up your 3 individual creatives with 1 headline and 1 copy. And then the third option is if you don't really care about the data and you just want your life to be a little bit easier, just throw everything in a flexible ad format and let it rip. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this week's video. If you're new to the channel, I just ask that you click the share button down below and send this to someone else who you also think could get value. And if you happen to have a Shopify brand and you're looking for the help of a growth focused agency to get you scaling further, I'd highly encourage you to apply to work with me and my team down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this week's video, and I'll see you next week.